Hi, Oliver. How are you? I'm Nico, a journalist from Argentina. Thank you very much for having me. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, yeah, really fine. If you are okay, we can start with the interview, and I would like to start talking about your creative process in general, because one thing that I see in your music videos and in general the content that you do for YouTube and social media, that you have like a really good flow of good ideas or original ideas, at least for me, and what I see in other artists. So how do you keep that flow going? How do you manage to do that?
I don't sleep a lot. I've been working 16-hour days, sometimes 18-hour days. I'm always working, but what I do is I mix to different genres. When I start feeling burnt out, I just move to the next thing. So I was just in the Middle East for the last month, and I was mixing my next album, Cowboy Tears, a country album, which I'm not sure if it will ever come out. My fans hate it. The label doesn't know if they want to release it, but I love it personally. And I don't care if it ever comes out because I'm listening to it exclusively. I don't even listen to music. This is the only thing I'm listening to, and I'm so inspired by it. So I've been making that, and I got so burnt out at a certain point. I ended up filming this documentary of me traveling through Morocco and to Egypt. I went to Cairo to the pyramids, and I was just exploring. And I ended up in Cairo just writing a movie. And then I went to a wedding directly in Utah, and I just wrote the rest of the movie for a week straight. I locked myself in this hotel room. And basically, I find it hard to get burnt out when you just switch to different things. I might do social media for a couple weeks. I might do it for a couple years, and then I just never want to do it again. So then I move to the next thing. And so I basically found I can pretty much never get burnt out if I just keep bouncing around to new mediums.
Okay. Well, I see this is something really natural that comes really natural to you. It's not something that you think a lot about. Am I right?
Can you say that one more time?
It seems that it's something that you just do, that you go with the flow and you are always jumping, and it's something that comes naturally. Make these different types of content and always searching for good ideas is something that it just comes up, right?
It's very natural for me. I'm very, very blessed. I've spent 10 years doing this for my job, and it's only now about a month ago that people have finally started to care about it. So for me personally, this has been my whole life stream. Everything I've worked for, I've sacrificed my entire life to this. So when you finally get the opportunity to do it for real, I mean, this is all I could ever dream of. So it's just like something I breathe and I sleep and I go to the bathroom, and all I do is make art besides that.
Okay, well, I also want to ask you about that difference that you make between art and entertainment. I heard you said that art is entertainment with substance. And we also know that you have like this side of your public persona that is being an entertainer. And I'm really curious to know if you ever feel afraid that the entertainer side of your persona may keep people far from the music.
No, because I did serious art only for the first 5 years of my job professionally, and nobody cared. And it wasn't until I just introduced the entertainment side and embraced the fact that to be an artist nowadays is to be an entertainer. And if you're not willing to be an entertainer, then forget about being an artist, because no one's going to care. So yeah, people can be turned off by it, but real art and good art is polarizing. It doesn't always have to make you feel good. It doesn't always have to be something that makes you feel happy. Sometimes it can make you angry. It just needs to make you feel something. So for me, even if someone's turned off, I'm still making art for them, and they're still feeling a certain way. And if they can feel passionate, whether that's love or hate, that's art. And it's not always going to work for everyone, but that's also what makes it so special for the people it does work with. That's what makes art feel so unique and special to them, and they can relate with it. So you have to understand, good and bad, it's all coming from a place of passion. And if you can make people feel anything, you're making art. And if you could get them to talk about it in the real world beyond the internet, that's the greatest art you can make, you know? So for me, it's okay if people are turned off, because that's just one body of work. That's just one box I put myself into. Well, guess what? I'm making the next box, and I'm making the next box after that. I'm already working on many different albums, many different movies. I have 17 documentaries that I've filmed over the last 4 years that haven't been finished being edited yet. So I could care less what someone thinks of something that life goes on. That song, I made that 7 years ago. The fact is, that was never supposed to see daylight. Ugly is Beautiful, the deluxe version, is songs from 7 to 8 years old. It's the earliest stuff that I made as Oliver Tree. It was never going to see daylight. So I said, hey, even if it's this old stuff that doesn't reflect who I am now. Let's release it, because in the reality, I am 10 years ahead of the audience. And yes, it's sad that most of my art will never come out, but I'm finding ways and excuses to try to release as much of it as I can, because I've made thousands of songs. I've made upwards of 40 albums. Ugly is Beautiful is my first album, but it's really my 41st album. I never released all this stuff, which is a great thing, because then when you put out an album that's your 41st album, you know how to make an album. Even though, well, I will say this, and I'm sorry to tangent, I will say this very quickly. Ugly is Beautiful, I do feel like, is a collection of music from 4 years. I don't really even consider it my first album. I think Cowboy Tears is the first real album I've ever made. And you know, if it comes out or not, I don't know, but that's probably the last album I may ever make. We'll see if I get inspired again another time, but it's my first and last album as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, well, I hope that you end up releasing all those materials. I'm talking now as a fan, but since you were speaking about your releases, I would like to ask you about your last EP, Welcome to the Internet with Little Big. How did that collaboration come up?
So I was a fan of Little Big's videos, and we reached out to see if they would remix something from Ugly is Beautiful. And they said, no, we do not do remixes, but we want to make music with you. Come to Russia, we'll make some stuff. They came to America. I ended up moving to Russia for 4 months. I lived there in Moscow, spent some time in St. Petersburg, and we made those 2 videos, which we worked over the course of a year, writing ideas, exchanging thoughts back and forth. And basically what ended up happening was I just moved out there, took all my stuff. Took me 6 months to get a visa approved. We had to try every angle. We got it from the office of the president. It was very complicated because our countries are at conflict right now. The American diplomats have been kicked out of Russia. The Russian diplomats have been kicked out of America. So to get there was a huge ordeal. So when I got there, I was like, I'm just going to stay here. I'm going to make art. I was very inspired by what I did working with them, what they taught me how to make art for a global audience. And the thing is, Oliver Tree doesn't really like America. I mean, I live there and I'm from there, but I really don't want to live there. I'm trying to move to South America. I'm exploring different options, but I really want to come and at least tour in South America really soon as I can. I'm working on ideas for how I can get out there. So Oliver Tree is a global artist. I don't see myself as an American in the traditional sense. Yes, I was born there, but I don't identify as an American. I identify as a person from the world.
Okay, well, if you want to come here to Argentina, it's really cheap, and we will receive
I'm coming. You better bet your bottom dollar, of course. I'm going to see about how long I can stay, but I know I'm going to come play a show, and if I like it there, who knows? I might be moving there.
Okay, yes. Well, you can stay in my house if you want.
Wow, thank you.
And since you were talking about being an international artist, and yes, I would like to know of maybe intergalactic artists that you have collaborated with in your album, and also because there is very little information on the internet. Can you tell us a bit about Little Ricky and maybe what's your relationship with him?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked, because really not many people know about Little Ricky. He's not the biggest artist. He was the only feature I had on my album Ugly is Beautiful. But in my opinion, Little Ricky is going to be one of the biggest artists in the future. He's arguably going to be the biggest artist in the entire universe as far as I'm concerned. I've been working with him. To put it into just perspective, Little Ricky's the first artist I've signed. So I'm, starting to pick artists that I really love, that I want to help produce and executive produce. And Little Ricky's the first artist that I really fell in love with. And I found that this guy is so talented. He's making music that is years beyond, like, this is stuff that maybe should come out in 100 years. That's why he hasn't really released much yet, is because we've been fine-tuning it, trying to make it something that can connect with people right now, because it's very complicated to make music that's so futuristic. So we've been trying to dial it back, make something that people can enjoy right now and hopefully hundreds of years in the future as well. But long story short, I've been working on Little Ricky's mixtape with him, helping him produce it, helping him with as much as I can. And basically, we have an incredible mixtape made that I'm hoping will be able to come out in the next 6 months or so. But basically, we're working on him, trying to do videos, different things. He's pretty hard to work with. He's very stubborn, and I've kind of butt heads with Ricky from time to time, but he really cares about the art. He loves what he's doing, and he knows what he's doing. He's got an incredible voice, and I think, I'm so glad you asked about him, because yes, Little Ricky's mixtape is almost finished, and me and him have been working very hard trying to get something that can connect with people right now in this modern day, and also be made for people hundreds, if not thousands of years into the future.
Okay, well, I'm going to listen to that very carefully because I'm also a big fan of
Wow.
Little Ricky too.
So happy to-
And since you were talking about collaborations, I noticed that you produce, you write your own things. You sing your own songs, you direct your music videos. How do you feel about working with other people when you have to?
It's always a challenge. Like working with the Russians, there was language barriers, and there were certain words I would maybe write for their lyrics that they couldn't sing because their pronunciation didn't sound right to the English listeners. So it was a lot of challenges and very complicated, and collaborating is always a challenge, but it's so inspiring to be with people from different walks of life and try to make something that's global instead of just unique to the people who grew up in my neighborhood. So it's been incredibly eye-opening. It's always a challenge. It's always hard to meet in the middle and find where two different people can harmonize together. Or in the case of film, we're talking about hundreds of people collaborating. So a lot of what I do is micromanaging and trying to make sure every little detail is accounted for on a film set. And there's hundreds of people. And the truth is collaboration allows us to make art that is way, way bigger than us. So it's something that I will always do. And even on the Oliver Tree project, I have a lot of friends who collaborate with playing instruments or making a drum beat. And I feel that it has been able to make my art a million times better. So I'm all about collaboration. But the truth is that it starts with my vision, and it starts with something coming from my soul. And if I don't have the vision, then forget about me steering a ship. I'm going to drive it into a wall and explode the whole thing and waste everybody's time.
Okay, yes. I think we only have time for one more last question. So that is, what's your next step? Because I heard that you wanted to retire. Are you going to do that?
Yeah, I did retire.
But are you going to keep releasing music, or are you going to retire forever?
Depends. It depends if people want to hear it. It depends if the label wants to release it. I make music for myself. I told you I don't listen to music. So the only music I listen to is the new things that I've made. And I don't ever listen to the stuff that's already come out. I don't care about that. It's only the new stuff that really resonates with me. So I made this album, Cowboy Tears, and I'm hoping one day, maybe in a year, maybe in 10 years, it will finally come out. But, that's something to look for. I'm going to do this tour, Cowboy Tears. I'm going to just release this tour anyways. I might play a couple songs if the songs come out. I'm not really sure what it looks like, but we'll see how bad the fans want it. It's really up to them because they told me so far they hate the country music and they don't want to hear it. And I said, who cares? I didn't make it for you guys. I made this for me. This is for Oliver Tree. And if you guys don't want it, I'll listen to it myself. And that's just fine with me.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the interview. It's been an honor as a fan.
I love your questions, man. Thank you for your time. I'm grateful.
Okay, thank you very much. See you soon.
Hope so, man. Peace out, bro.
Bye.
Yourbans.